I already made a video detailing how to terminate an Ethernet cable with an RJ45 male jack, like these, and in this one I'm going to cover how to terminate it with a female jack. These are used to put in wall sockets, so that instead of having a hole in the wall with a cable coming through, you have a nice little wall panel. So let's go ahead and open this up and get into it. This is the actual punch-down jack. It basically works by taking the individual wires off of the Ethernet cable and slotting them into these little notches based once again on the standard that you chose. You can see that here they have A and B. This is for the 568 standard or 568, and you just follow whichever one is relevant to the standard you're using. To punch them down, you're going to need a tool called a punch down tool, which I will have a link to in the video description. Just like with a male RJ45 keystone jack, the first step is to strip back the cable. Now peel back these individual strands, or braided pairs, and use the pair of scissors to cut out this middle part. Now unbraid each pair. Now try and organize the pairs together and pull them back to the side so that they're easier to work with. The next step, and this might have actually been better to do earlier, is to go ahead and take the blue box and push the cable through. If you forget to do this, you're not going to be able to fit it through after you've installed the keystone jack. And correction, you should definitely do that before stripping the cable. It would have been a lot easier. Okay, now that we've got the cable through and stripped, we're going to go ahead and start putting the wires in this punch-down jack. So we're going to start, I'm using the 568A standard. We're going to start with the dashed green wire right here. So go ahead and get it in there. Route the wire out the back. Then take your punch-down tool, put this pokey end on the outside, and just punch it down. There we go. Now, sometimes it'll cut the cable off nicely, sometimes it won't. I'm just going to leave that and cut them all off later. Now it's time for the green cable. Next up is the dashed blue. Okay, now let's switch to the other side. It calls to start with the dashed brown. Next up, solid brown. Next, dashed orange. And finally, solid orange. Now that everything's installed, I'm just going to take my pair of scissors and go along and cut these ends off. Unfortunately, the punch-down tool didn't bite into these cables as much as on that side. So I'm going to use a pair of toenail clippers to go along and just clip them off. Okay, that looks good enough. Now let's go ahead and take this cover for it and pop it down on top. There we go. Now, as you can see, these cables are still sticking out the back, which isn't necessarily the best. I'm going to go get some electrical tape to wrap them with. Now, ideally, you'd have the actual casing going into the back of this punch-down jack. But that can be incredibly hard to do, especially with outdoor cable, as it has a thicker shielding around it to help it brave the elements. And this should be perfectly fine. It's inside of a box that should help shield it. There's nothing nearby to provide interference, and with that there, it should be more or less protected. So I'm going to go ahead and put these screws in to lock the box in place, and then pop it into the faceplate and screw that on. Now this just snaps into the faceplate with this little clip and this slip right there. There we go. Let's go ahead and feed this cable a little bit back through so I can get the plate in. And now let's go ahead and screw it in with the included screws. There we go. Now all we have to do is test to make sure it works. As you can see, I have an Ethernet cable connected to the jack and running across to my computer. Looking in control panel, The connection is verified at 1 gigabit per second. Let's go.